Welcome to PTS Online. Kuya Mike na po sa araw na ito and we have a special guest with us today. If you've noticed, marami pong mga kaganapan na nangyari po sa mga nakaraang pong mga linggo at buwan. May mga may nangyari na mga karumal-dumal na mga insidente. At maraming nagsasabi, many are saying, why is this happening to Hong Kong? Well, sabi nga natin, hindi naman natin po may akala na sa Hong Kong ay lahat katahimikan. No? Pero sa araw na ito, minabuti po namin na imbitahan ang iba po nating mga kasama na eksperto sa mga ganitong kalagayan. Paano pa natin masasagot ang mga katanungang ito? Bakit nangyayari po ito sa Hong Kong? Why are these things happening in Hong Kong? And what are the best ways to prevent these things that are happening? Naimbitahan po natin ang mga kasamahan po natin sa Tungma Group of Hospitals, ang CEAS Crisis Center. At sinasabi nga natin sa atin mismo, sa ating komunidad sa Pilipinas, nag-iisip po tayo lagi na kinakailangan harmonious ang ating relationship sa ating mga pamilya. Kailangan iwasan po natin ang mga bagay-bagay na nakakasakit sa ating mga mahal sa buhay. Pero paminsan-minsan, hindi po natin ito nakokontrol. It's hard to control our emotions, our mental and physical being when pressures start sipping in. And of course, ang pinaka-importante dito sa atin is yung pangangalaga po ng kabataan, ang mga bata. And sometimes, unforeseen circumstances and incidents happen like these. So, minabuti po natin na makasama sa araw na ito, walang iba kung hindi ang Assistant Supervisor ng CEAS Crisis Center, Miko. Hi, Miko.
Hello.
And of course, we also have Umar, Activity Development Assistant from CEAS Center. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we all know that there's been a number of incidents, unfortunate incidents that's been happening in Hong Kong recently. And it's nice to hear that there is such a group like CEAS Center. How long has CEAS Center been and what are you focused on?
Actually, since 2007, we serve the whole Hong Kong. We support the victims of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and elder abuse. And we provide a 24-hour hotline and also shelter. Yes.
And Uber, you just come into the picture recently. How's it been actually being part of CEAS?
Yeah, it's we have formed our team, a ethnic minorities team, in 2020, and after thought, we came to know after interacting our communities, there are a lot of issues related to violence, child maltreatment, and so on that communities are affecting, but they are not coming forward to ask for the help. So it's very important for us to do our best to enhance their knowledge about different kind of abuse and violence, so that they can know from start that if something is happening wrong in their home and the community, they can recognize from the start, and then they can ask from the different NGOs or the departments like CEAS Crisis Center.
Well, they always say, Miko, that prevention is better than cure, right? In terms of when we talk about our health. How do you put yourself into preventing such measures, specifically for violence in family?
For prevention, actually, we believe that if the family can provide like very safe environment, like your environment, and also physically, psychologically, mentally, yes, you can foster like a healthy lifestyle of that family members. Yes, so maybe cultivate positive parenting and also authentic communication and healthy lifestyle. I think it would be better to foster, a better mental health in the family.
Well, when we talk about that's basically prevention, right? Thinking of more positive things in in Hong Kong, probably not only in the family but also in the community, because it normally comes out within that community, not only in the family itself. But in terms of prevention, how would, let's say, one person approach this if, let's say, something untoward is happening in the family? Umar, how can somebody approach you?
Yeah, it's very easy to approach CIS Crisis Center. We have a 24-hour hotline 18281 that is basically answered by our registered social workers around the clock, and basically they answer the line in Chinese and English language. And also we have interpretation service available, okay, during the service hour. If somebody cannot speak English or Cantonese, we can contact the interpretation service, and then they can help us to bridge with the language barriers, so they can approach us. Or even if somebody knows any center nearby or any familiar social worker, they can go to them and ask for the help, and then eventually they will refer to our services.
You're a 24-hour hotline service, so anytime, basically, somebody can call, and there will be somebody who's going to answer.
Yes, our registered social workers will answer. Yes, sometimes I need to answer
Oh,
also.
you're also part of that?
Yeah.
24. So it's a rotation basis
Yes.
for people to answer this particular
Yes.
thing. So remember the number. It's 18281.
Yes.
18281. It's easy to remember. Now, in terms of domestic violence, there's domestic violence that focus on children. There's also domestic violence that's focused on the individual per se, meaning it could be a male or a female abused person. Is there a difference in trying to approach this, Miko?
You mean male and
Female and the children, or how do you address this as far as CIS Center is concerned? Do you sort of spot on, give them different sort of information to deal with it?
That's a very good question, because, the origin of violence actually is power and control, like that. And I can talk about children first, because children is like very vulnerable. They need protection in the family. So if we want to approach them, we need to the carer, they are very aware their behavior, their maybe languages, and also their speaking, communication, like that. And if the carer approach us, then we will do assessment with the maybe there's something happen, like suspected child maltreatment, or the children may witness the domestic violence. So we can do a thorough or comprehensive, risk assessment, and then try to engage with the children with maybe using some interactive way, like play or art, like that, and then interact with the children, and then do we call it intervention, like that. For the adult, you mentioned male and female. That's a very good question. Actually, maybe over 80% of our clients, the victims, are female, and male is very hidden. Maybe this is a social expectation for them. Oh, men should be very strong, and they cannot be, weak, and seek help from others, like that. So when we approach female, would be more easier, because maybe they can ask their relatives or friends, then reach up to us. But for male, it's a little bit difficult. So we need to do some. Somehow we have another center that is a male, and men development center. So we have a group section, and then maybe all the brothers, and sit together and maybe talk about their difficulties, and then we just let them to voice out or ventilate their difficulties, and then we maybe help them in that area or that situation, like that.
Or we do understand that Hong Kong has always been a multicultural society. You know, it's been called the world city. And we know that the population of South Asians is getting bigger. You know, South Asian comes from definitely Pakistani, Indian, Nepali, Sri Lankan, and alike. And we all know that these communities are male domineering communities. How do you address this? Because, I mean, you come from, originally for you, you come from Pakistan
Yes.
and you come over here. It's a totally different world,
Yes.
right? Similar to me, I come from the Philippines, so suddenly it's fast pace of life. You live in a small flat. You How do you address this? Because this adds up to a change of society
Yes.
and change of living standards, and of course the hustle and bustle of daily life.
So basically, this is the main challenge that we, and especially for myself, we are facing during providing the services, because as Miko mentioned, men, we as a portray from our childhood that during our childhood, our parents used to tell us that, oh, boys don't cry, boys has to be, they have to be very rough and tough, and if you have any problem, you have to sort out by yourself. Especially uh, uh, all the communities, not like a specific community, all the men, they try to do their best to handle the situation by themselves. They don't go and ask for help for someone else. Maybe if they go to a very close friend and ask for the help. So same situation happens when we are going for the outreach and we are trying to reach the people, we are trying to talk to them, so they feel very uncomfortable actually. As soon as they know that we are from CIS Crisis Center and the Tungara Bupa hospitals, and we are working for the families who are encountering the domestic violence and other kind of violence. So of course they feel a little bit uncomfortable, and then they try to distant actually. Sometimes what they say that, oh, we are not abusive actually, and there is no kind of abuse happening ever in at our home, so just excuse us. So for myself, I have to tell them in a very, of course, soft approach that we are not blaming anyone, that someone, if we are talking about the violence, that you are abuser or there's some problem in your household. So sometimes basically what happened is that when we are talking about, let's say we are talking about the domestic violence, so only one thing came to our mind is that physical violence, but there are a lot of other terms, the things are involved in the domestic violence. We name it verbal abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, economic, and nowadays the digital abuse, use of social media, the gadgets, and also we are having spiritual abuse also. You just use the spiritual text and manipulate any person, yeah, just to control them, as because domestic violence is a pattern of power and control. Okay, so what we are doing is that we're trying to tell them that not only the physical abuse is a kind of the domestic violence, there are other things also, maybe by your wordings, by your behavior, let's say you are simply telling your partner that you cannot go outside, and you don't have the right to wear this specific dress or the color, so this is also a kind of abuse, because you're stopping someone to express, to live their life freely. So what we are doing is that we are going to some mosque in madrasas also. We are trying to bridge up with the Sikh temple also very soon, and then Hindu temple also. We just had a meeting with the New Life Church. Maybe you heard about that one. So we are going to approach the especially men in that way also, because normally it's very difficult to approach someone because they're very busy all the time. Okay, so whenever we are trying to approach them at the outreach or during some program, it's very difficult to ask them, to invite them to have sit and talk about different topics. So as Miko mentioned, we have a men's center also, but mostly as the Chinese community members are coming. So we are just trying to invite other people also, especially the men, so that in a very normal environment, in a friendly environment, we do something just like maybe tea making, soap making, or maybe the haircut, and then we can talk what are the problems we are facing at our home, or outside, so how we can sort out. Of course, it's challenging, but of course, it's a possible thing, and we have a very positive approach in that one.
Miko, we do understand that there's been several incidents, untoward incidents that has happened recently in Hong Kong. It's so unfortunate that we're hearing this, and I'm sure all of us have felt in one way or the other that it also pained us that it's happening in a society that's always been liberal and open, and it's a caring society as far as that is concerned. Now, can you give us a sample of a case study that you can share with our viewers and our listeners that you've actually dealt with in CEAS?
Actually, I remember one case that the client is called Sasa, and actually she is turned maybe 30-something woman, and she is on dependence visa. She got married with her cousin several years ago, and then she gave birth to 2 kids, and one is 3 years old, a son, and one is 5 years old daughter. And then actually they are good in relationship, and her husband work in a construction site and work very long time actually in Hong Kong, like that, in a very long time. And recently her husband start to drink alcohol, and sometimes turn anger to her. And one day or one night, when the husband back to the home, and then just maybe have like some argument with Sasa, and then he just hit her back, and then the whole situation witnessed by the kids. And actually the woman, she is a housewife, and she always joins some activity in the at the outreaching team for ethnic minorities. And the next day, Sasa joined the activity regular health checkup, and then she met us, and because we are talking about something like intimate partner violence, but we use we're making a workshop, then we do invite her to make a bracelet, and then we chit chat, and then talk about any difficulties you encounter in your family. And then Sasa talk about last night my husband just like that, he turned anger to me, and like that, blah blah blah. And then we just try to educate her that it's a kind of intimate partner violence, and you can seek help from maybe family workers, and also if you and your children are in danger, actually you can admit our shelter. But she's a little bit hesitate, because she got a lot of things to to think about that. And then she just keep our leaflets. And because we coordinate, we collaborate with the we call it outreaching team for ethnic minorities. So we just regularly check with the worker in autumn team, and then we also at that time we educate her that this is what we call domestic violence or intimate partner violence, and it's the effect. It may affect the children because they witness all the thing, and if we do not stop this kind of cycle, then it will affect the whole family, and you will suffer because the emotional disturbance, and the husband may need help because maybe he has a lot of pressure on his work, and maybe he needs some way to help him to, abstain from the alcohol like that. So we educate all this information and invite her if she is really in danger, she can call us because we have 24-hour hotline like that.
Umar, of course, what Miko has just said is something, a specific case that C Center has actually taken care of. But if it's easier said than done, that like you were mentioning earlier, that it's not that easy to approach communities to be able to open up, because you come from a different environment, and here, as much as possible, people would like to be proactive, trying to find out if there are certain situations that you can address as early as possible, right? Like what I mentioned earlier, prevention is better than
Yes.
cure. Taking medicines and so on and so forth. How has it been to you as far as an ethnic minority himself? And dealing with these communities, how has it been a challenge to you?
Um, if we talk overall, actually, not separating men and the women, overall, it's initially it was challenging actually to talk about to approach the people because the topic, the services we are covering itself is a kind of taboo and there's a lot of stigma attached behind it. But initially, when I was thinking, I was feeling a little bit shy and also ashamed, like what kind of things I'm talking about. But later on, I realized that these things are very important because it's related to the families. And it when there is some problem in the family, and then there is no one to help someone, then at the end of the day, maybe there is a family, there will be no more family. So we have to talk to the people no matter how difficult it is. We need to maybe approach them differently. Of course, like if we are going somewhere and we are telling them, oh, you come to us, and then we are going to talk about the domestic violence, or if we are talking about the how to handle the high conflict families, nobody is going to come over to us. So what we are doing is that we are trying to approach the people. We are starting the conversation with positive parenting. Of course, it's related, because sometimes what happens is that some fights are begun with how to brought up the kids. Oh, okay, and then sometimes how to manage the expenses. Okay, these kind of things are a bit by bit making a lot of tension, in a household. And sometimes what we are doing, we are starting the conversation with the topic that how we can build a harmonious family. So in a way that people can have their interest, and later on we can take that conversation to the real topic. At least they will involve themselves, by listening, and by taking interest or listening. And of course, as I mentioned before, if of course it looks at that is very challenging and nobody is going to bother, but I think if we do something in a consistent way and with a very patience and in a positive way approach, I'm sure one day we can make a difference and we can make all the communities peaceful communities. And what we are, how to say, I would say, the preaching that non-violence communication, because the biggest problem in all the families in the communities most of the time is that we don't have the positive communication. So I think when we start, from where we have to start is that we have to start with the communication and positive communication. If from the start we have any problem, it's better to sit down, specifically if we are going to mention about some partners, sit down, talk to each other in a very good way, in a positive way. So the communication is the key for anything.
Nico, of course, it's a pleasure to have you in the show and for giving us all these insights, stories that you've encountered already. I'd like you now to invite our listeners to be able to, approach you as comfortable as they can possibly can if certain situations, unfortunate situations, may occur in their families or their communities, how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, actually we have 24-hour hotline 18281, and we round the call. All the calls are received by our registered social workers, and we are here to help. We are here to help. Yes.
Iko, thank you very much. Sa mga kasamahan pong napanood po yung ating interview, sa mga kasamahan po natin sa itong group of hospitals, yung kanilang Cease Crisis Center. Napakaganda pong oportunidad po ito. Hindi nangangahulugan na kailangan maging tabu po ito. No? Huwag ho kayong matakot dahil sa pamamagitan nito, nabibigyan lunas po ang samot-saring mga problema ng komunidad, ng pamilya, lalong-lalo na ang pinag-iingatan dito, ang kabataan. It's the children that we're looking after at this point in time. They're still growing up. When they see violence in families, it sort of hinders their growth. It hinders their mindsets. And at the end, we want to avoid that they be the same people as what they see. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Sa ngalan po ng ating mga kasama sa Tungwa Group of Hospitals, sa Cease Crisis Center. Kami po ay nagpapasalamat. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Lord.
much for having us.
Thank you.
Nico, thank you. Ito po ang PTS Online.